So when I decided to bet on myself, I was very scared for a number of reasons because there's no comfort there when you first start. There's no peace there when you first start. There is no getting paid every other week or every week when you first start. Like all the things that I had become accustomed to was all of a sudden just not there anymore. So I was very scared about that. Also, kind of once I got into it, I realized that everything was on me.
What's going on, everybody? It's Shamarcus, and this is Shamarcus Talks. And on this episode, man, we have a wonderful, amazing guest. Her name is Crystal. She is amazing. I've talked to her, and I've learned so much about a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And the reason why I'm bringing her on is because of that. I want y'all to understand everything that she has going on. And without further ado, how you doing, Miss Crystal?
Hi, Shamarcus. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
No problem. Oh my God, y'all just don't understand. Like we've talked a couple times, and every time we've talked, it was like, okay, I'm learning more. Tell me more. Tell me more. What about this? What
It
about
is
this?
true. It's true.
And when I say she is amazing at what she does, she is amazing. She is on top of the game. And y'all already know me. Um, what I do is I can tell you a lot about yourself, about you. However, you can tell you about you way more. So let's tell the people some stuff about you, starting off.
Okay, so Shamarcus, before I answer your question, if you give me a few minutes and if your audience gives me a few minutes to praise you, and I've said this privately, but I'm going to say it publicly as well. I have my own podcast. And normally I am the person that is doing the interviewing. I'm interviewing guests. This is the very first time that I have had the opportunity to actually be the interviewee, to be the guest on your podcast, Shamarcus Talks. So thank you so much. I know, right? Thank you so much for allowing me on your podcast. And thank you so much for this being the first time for me being the guest. So I'm super excited to be here.
Oh my God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We talked about that, but I was
We
like, what?
did.
No, no, not you. And you're
It
like, this is
is.
the first time. And I'm like, really? And
Yes.
again, y'all don't understand. Y'all are in for a treat today. She is thebomb.com. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
So tell the people a little bit more about yourself and how did you get where you are now?
Okay, so oh my goodness. I am from Texas, which I feel like is the greatest state. And I have traveled enough to different states to be able to say that with some authority that I feel like Texas is the greatest state. So I'm from Texas. I have my undergrad in communications with the emphasis on broadcast, and I have my master's degree in communication and leadership. So as you can see, I love to talk. Basically, that's all I'm saying here, Shamarcus. I love to talk. I got the degree for it, and I even paid for it to be able to talk and to know how to talk because that's a whole other podcast. But from there, so I always knew I wanted to be in broadcast. I always knew I wanted to be in media because, as the saying goes, communication rules the nation, which is absolutely true. But I always like to add on to that that yes, communication rules the nation, but understanding helps to turn the nation. So it's not enough just to be able to communicate. You need to be able to understand what is being communicated to you and what you are communicating. So I worked in television. Again, always knew I wanted to be in broadcasting, worked in television, loved doing that. but the hours are crazy. The news never ever stops. Like the news never turns off. So the hours were crazy. From there, I ended up working for, it's not necessarily a nonprofit organization. It's not a for-profit organization, but it's an organization that receives funding from the federal government for like cities and towns. And then with that money, we disperse that to the different cities, we disperse that to the different towns. So very exciting, still, using everything that I learned in my undergrad and grad as far as communicating, making sure people are understanding. And from there, which, this podcast, we're talking about entrepreneurship. From there, I really just bet on myself. I was like, I am doing all of these amazing things for this organization and this company. I felt like I could do the same thing for myself and for my own company. And I had to, finances and budget. I had to look at that and see if I was in a place to where I could quit the traditional 9 to 5, 8 to 5 job and still be able to maintain the lifestyle that I had become accustomed to. So for anyone that's listening, if you are thinking about quitting your traditional job, first look at your finances and see if you can afford to quit your job and still maintain the level of living that you are doing. So when I quit my job, I was able to still maintain the level of living that I was doing. And I created my own consulting company, Petry Consulting. And I've been registered with the state of Texas for 3-ish years now, but I have been doing the work before I was officially registered. I have been helping people, consulting with people, helping them do like event planning or grant writing, grant research. Like I was already doing the work. And so that also let me know that, I'm doing this work for other people. I was not charging, I was just helping. So they would call and say, hey, can you help me with this? Or, hey, can you help me plan this event? I'm looking at this grant. Can you read it and let me know if I qualify for it? So I was already doing that work. So right there, I was like, okay, there's a need there. There's a client base there. There's a niche there that's not being met. And I felt like I had the skills and the tools, the education, the experience to fill that niche. And I bet on myself. And I gave myself a timeline to make the company successful. So for me, with this company, with Petry Consulting, success feels like, and success looks like continuous clients. That's what success is for me. So continuous, and I'll say satisfied, continuous, happy, satisfied clients with the work that I am giving. And that's what success looks like. So I gave myself a timeline to accomplish that. And hopefully, I'll accomplish that by, within the timeline that I've given myself. And within that, within the Petry Consulting, I started a podcast because I am an ultimate learner. I'm always reading, which is something that I love to do, read. So I'm always learning, I'm always reading. When I'm in my car, I'm always listening to different podcasts to help me learn and to teach me about different subjects and different topics. And from there, the podcast grew, and I'm in my second season right now, going into my third in February of 2025. And I'm just loving life. I'm loving everything that I'm doing right now. So, and through all of that, I met Shamarcus. I met you, and here I am.
Oh my God, that sounds so amazing. Like
Yes.
you were being modest, to say the least. Like you were being like, But like y'all don't understand, she dope. Like she is dope. She has told me a whole bunch of things, and y'all know me. I'm always like, okay, I'm listening. I'm so listening. Like because we talked earlier, and I
Yes.
two things that you said that I really want to touch on.
Okay.
One of those things is you bet on yourself. Like
Yes.
how because people really don't understand like that is the start of everything, right?
Yes.
You got to know that all this stuff that you're doing for whoever it is you're doing, and I'm not telling you to quit your job or anything like that, but
Right.
I'm telling you, once you start betting on you, that is going to be the best bet you can ever make. Now, we've talked prior, and there will be some ups and some downs. There will be some things that you have to learn and some places that you will have to be, and all of these good things. But I'm a firm believer of everything is going to play out the way it needs to play out. But please just go back into this, man, betting on yourself, because that's not talked about enough.
Yes. Yes. So, first thing I will say when I decided to bet on myself was I was very scared. And I feel like
Hold
as
on, hold on, hold on. I'm
humans,
sorry. I'm sorry.
okay.
Say that again, because there are going to be people that come out, and I'm so sorry. There are going to be people that's going to come out the gate and think, oh my God, this is going to be so easy. Or, oh my God, like this is that. I was so scared, and I'm so glad. You don't understand. I'm so happy right now because w- I didn't know that I was the only one. I thought I was the only one that was like, "Oh my God, I'm so scared. This is, oh God!" Like you know how you put your toe in the water and you put your foot back, then you put your foot in
Yes.
the water again. Like, please, oh my God, I'm so sorry to cut you off. I just had to.
No, no.
Like that is one of the biggest things for me was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one that felt that way.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So for me, I have always worked a traditional job. And by traditional job, I mean, I get up, I put my clothes on, I go to somebody else's business, somebody else's office, I answer their phones and, do the job description that they've given me. But we all know that the job description that they give you is never the job description that you do. Like, we're just going to throw that out there. So I've always worked a traditional job and I've always been very happy with that. And you find comfort in that and you find peace in that. So when I decided to bet on myself, I was very scared for a number of reasons because there's no comfort there when you first start. There's no peace there when you first start. There is no getting paid every other week or every week when you first start. Like all the things that I had become accustomed to was all of a sudden just not there anymore. So I was very scared about that. Also, kind of once I got into it, I realized that everything was on me. So normally when you work in a traditional job, you have like your HR person, you have your finance person, you have maybe your director, you have all these other people that kind of help facilitate the job. When you bet on yourself, and at least for me, this is my experience. When I started out, it was just me. So HR stuff was me. Finance stuff was me. Paying the bill, paying the credit card was me. Going out and doing outreach was me. Like everything was on me. So even through that, I was just very scared that if I dropped one of these balls, the whole thing was going to come tumbling down. And if I'm being honest with you, Shamarcus, I still have that fear. It's not as great as it was when I first started. But every now and then, I'm just like, if I can't make this work, because I don't have a plan B for the time frame that I put myself on, there is no other plan B. I have been offered jobs, Shamarcus, like jobs that I have turned down because I know that if I do this other like traditional job, I'm not going to be able to focus 100% on Crystal Petry Consulting, that eventually it will go to the back burner. So for the time frame that I've given myself, this is my plan A. There is no plan B. So I have to make this work. And even if I don't make it work, at least I would have tried. At least I would have bet on myself. And I will know for me that I gave every single thing that I possibly could to this company. I gave every single thing that I possibly could to my podcast guests, to clients that I've worked with, whether that's through event planning or grant writing or whatever, that I did every single thing that I could, that I knew how to do and make work. And even if it doesn't work, I will have no regrets because I bet on myself. I tried, I did everything that I could. I pressed on, even though I was scared, even though I was nervous, even though I have messed up so many times, Shamarcus. But I learned from those mess ups and have been able to, fix that and correct that to make that better within my business. But yes, I bet on myself. I wanted to at least give me a try. I wanted to give me a try.
Oh my God. When I say you said so many good gems and jewels, and like people are really going to have to rewind that back or listen to that whole part over. She said so many good things. And needless to say, that goes into my next question, which is like, what were some challenges that you had and what made you not throw in the towel? And the reason why I typically ask this question is because, just like I said earlier, when people start entrepreneurship or their journey, or if they start doing something that's not in their comfort zone or not in their wheelhouse, as you will, like they don't understand. There are going to be some challenges that make you really question is, am I really doing this? Should I really be doing this? And I know that you've had challenges as well because you're doing it. So what were some challenges that you had that made you want to be like, you know what? Done and done.
Okay, so I've had a lot of those, but I'll talk about two main challenges that I had. So the first one was when I started my own business, I was doing, I was offering my business is a service-based business, meaning I provide services. I don't have like products like soaps, deodorants, clothes, things like that. I provide services. So with my service-based business, I was offering, I kid you not, maybe 10 to 12 different services, Shamarcus. Exactly. 10 to 12 different services. Again, just me by myself, offering all of those services. And so I offered all of those services because I was like, I know how to do all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I have my website and I have all of these services, like 10 to 12 different services that I'm offering. And I would get clients, but it got to the point where I was spreading myself so thin, trying to offer all of those services and do them with excellence every single time that at that point was when I wanted to quit. I was like, this is just too much. I can't do all of this by myself. I cannot handle all of this by myself. And then I thought about bringing on some help. But then I was like, that would just be something else that I would have to be HR. That'd be something else that I would have to do to add on to what I'm already doing. And it was just so much. It was too many services that I was offering, and I was exhausted all the time. I personally felt like I was not giving my clients the best. That's not the feedback that I was getting from them. They were always, oh, thank you so much. This was amazing. You did great. You don't, like all of the accolades. But for me, I would just be tired. I would be hanging on by a thread. I would be up at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning working on different projects. And this is like the whole day. Like I haven't slept. I would be forgetting to eat because I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I love working out. It's something that I love to do just for me. I didn't have time to work out because I need to do like 12 and 15 different things. And it just became too much. And at that point, I felt very overwhelmed and I was going to throw in the towel. And I went back to what I thought at the very beginning. This is my opportunity. This space and this time right now is my opportunity to bet on myself and still maintain the same lifestyle that I was living. I don't know if in 2 years or 3 years, if I'm still have this opportunity. Like, who knows what life is going to throw at me, right? So I was like, I need to take advantage of this moment in time where I can do this. So from there, I narrowed it down to, and my clients really helped me do this indirectly. I narrowed it down to 3 things, well, 4 things, including the podcast, 3 things specifically that I could do that I could do very well. And the way my clients helped me was these were the most requested services from all of my clients. Now, all of the services that I was offering, the 10 to 12 services, I would have clients request all of those. One off here, one off there. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? But the most requested services were the things that were the event planning, the grant writing. Those were the most requested services. So I took I would say like maybe a week or 2 weeks and just looked at my entire business and looked at and literally went down and counted how many people, because one of the things I was doing was like newsletter writing for people and email marketing. I was doing a lot of training. So I sat down, I printed out all of my services that I was offering. And then I looked at how many people over the years have requested, newsletter writing or training or email marketing. Like how many people requested those things? How many people requested event planning? How many people requested grant writing? And when I say requested, I'm saying like literally was asking questions, calling me. Some of those ended up in payments, some of them didn't, but people were requesting and asking more about the grant writing, more about the event planning than they were any of the other services. So that's how I was able to narrow it down from all of those other services to the 2 specific services that I offer now. And the requests are still there. The payments for those services have increased because I'm able to give more to those 2 services. I'm able to focus more on those 2 services. I'm able to grow those services much more. And I also told myself that once I grow as far as hiring people and bringing people on, because now I have space and energy to do that, then I can add more services. But jumping out the gate with 10 to 12 services was not the way. It was not the way. That was a major no-no. So that was the first one. The second one was getting consistent clients, which again, I told you that's what success for me looks like, having clients consistently. And this is something I'm still working on. I have clients, but they're not consistent. And, as I'm saying consistent, I'm not exactly sure what that looks like. Like how many people, how many clients would I consider consistent? I don't know that number yet, but I feel like I'll know it once I get there. But for right now, I have clients, but they're just not consistent, whatever that will eventually look like for me. So that is a challenge, having consistent clients. And what happened initially, and I feel like I'm just now getting from under that umbrella. When I bet on myself, when I started my own company, a lot of the clients knew me from when I worked my traditional job. So I felt like they trusted me through that traditional job. But now that I'm out here by myself and it's just Crystal Petry Consulting, they were not, I I don't know how to explain it. They trusted me when I was with the traditional job. For some reason, they don't trust me now, just being my own company, being my own firm. So people would, and the way that looked, people would come up, hey, of course I need you to do this. Are you still working at such and such? And I would be like, I'm not, I'm doing my own thing now. And then they would be like, oh, okay. And, we all kind of know that, or that look like, I'll get back with you. And I'd be like, okay. But they would never get back with me. So I feel like I'm just coming from under that umbrella. It's taken me several years to do that. But now people are starting to know me as Crystal Petry Consulting. They're starting to trust me as Crystal Petry Consulting instead of Crystal Petry that worked at this traditional job over here. So it has been a lot of times that I wanted to quit in that space because the clientele was not consistent and the clients were like, I'll call you back. I'll reach out to you. And they wouldn't call me back and they wouldn't reach out to me. And so I would reach out to them and I would call them back. But then I felt like, people know what they want. When people go to the stores, they know what they want. You don't have to convince them and beg them and all. If I go to a car lot, for the most part, I know what I'm gonna get. I go to the grocery store, I go to the mall, for the most part, I know what I'm gonna get. So I still do my follow-ups, I still call, I still do all of that, but I don't do it to the extent that I was doing it before. And so what I went back to when I wanted to throw in the towel in this challenge is I always go back to, I gave myself a timeline and I have no plan B. This is my plan A. Have I done every single thing that I could possibly do to make this company successful? And honestly, if I can say no to that, which it's normally no, you haven't done everything that you can possibly do, I stick it out. I stay and I stick it out. And I understand that this place and this time, I have to try this. I don't know what's coming down the pipeline in a year or 2 years. I might be forced to go back to the traditional job. This company might just fail. It might not work. I might not get the consistent clients. And I will be okay with that. But those are the two main challenges that I have had. I've had a lot, but those are the two main challenges. And those are the reasons that I have stuck it out and stayed, even when I wanted to quit and give up.
Wow. Like, wow. I'm over here like, I did this a couple times, like, for real. Like, okay, I can't write it down. Hold on. Like, it's, man, that was real. You know what I mean? Like, I always say, I can't teach you how to do something I've never done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the way you talk with the passion, the way that you talk with everything, like you can tell, like, oh, I'm really doing this. I'm not just reading this from no book saying, oh yeah, this is that and this is that and blah blah blah. No, like that was dope. And everybody that's listening needs to really I said rewind the first part, but this part you just need to rewind a little bit to the first part and then just listen to the whole thing, because you were saying a lot of good things that anybody that's starting out really needs to hear. Like, I commend you for that one. Like, oh my God. But it goes to the next point, which you're like, you're making my job way too easy. Because now my next question is like, what are some advice that you would give somebody that wants to do following your footsteps?
So advice that I would give, and you have Shamarcus, I know you saying that I'm making your job easy, but you are making this platform very easy for me and like a safe space for me to talk. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to be honest with this advice. Number one, if you want to bet on yourself, if you want to follow in my footsteps, if you want to bet on yourself, you have to make sure that you can afford to do it. Because if you can't afford to do it, that really puts unnecessary stress and unnecessary burden on you. And then it also forces you to compromise your values, compromise who you are, because you are in a strain. Like, I need to pay my light bill next month and I don't have no money. So it forces you to do things that you probably wouldn't normally do. So, one of the things that I said earlier was that I've been offered jobs. I remember I don't even know where I was at, but I just struck up a conversation with someone because obviously I'd love to communicate. And I didn't know like who she was. We were just talking because we were in the same space. So we were talking about whatever it is. We were volunteering or something. And so as I was leaving, it turned out that she was HR at a college. And she said, you know what? You need to come and be an adjunct professor at this college where I work. She's HR. She was like, all you need to do, Crystal, is fill out the application online and I'm going to call you and you got the job. Like, I didn't have to do nothing. So I was like, I told her, I was like, thank you. I was very appreciative. I was like, let me think on it and I'll let you know. So I got home, I thought about it, and I decided that I didn't take the job because it would have taken away time, energy, and space from me trying to grow my own thing. So, I just let her know that, I wasn't in a position right now to do that, whatever. But if I had been in a financial strain where, oh my God, I need to pay my light bill next month, or I need to pay my gas bill this month, I would have took that job because I needed the income. So my first advice is, if you're going to quit your traditional job, make sure you're in a place financially where you can afford it and you don't have to sacrifice to get your light bill paid or your water bill paid or put gas in your vehicle. The second thing that I would say is you have to be able to talk to yourself and encourage yourself in this space. Because while I have clients who are amazing, I have Shamarcus who's opened his platform for me to be on his podcast, which is amazing. For the most part, I'm alone in this journey. Like, I'm alone at my computer working on my website. I'm alone doing my own newsletter. I am alone creating my own questions. I'm alone doing my own marketing, doing my own branding. I'm alone creating content for my guest on my podcast and creating content for my audience on my podcast. I do that alone a lot of the time. When you are at a traditional job, you have coworkers all the time around, coming in your office, calling you, hey, can you talk? They got cake in the break room. Hey, everybody go and eat over here. You want to come? So you have that like adult conversation. You have that adult interaction constantly. When you are betting on yourself, and again, this is my experience, because I'm doing this by myself at this point, I'm by myself a lot. So when I have the challenges that we spoke about earlier, when I have the moments of, I want to quit, I cannot do this, I need to go back to a traditional job because there's comfort there, there's peace there, there's knowing there. I have to be able to encourage myself and talk to myself out of those thoughts, out of the mental fatigue, the emotional fatigue, the I want to quit. Why did I ever quit my job? What was I thinking moment? I have to be able to talk myself out of those. I have to be able to encourage myself and remind myself why I am doing this. So that would be like the two really, really, like if I can give any advice, and it's a lot that I can give, those are the two that I would give. Make sure you can afford to quit your job so you don't have to sacrifice yourself, sacrifice who you are and your character to get a buck. And make sure that you are mentally strong and able to encourage yourself and talk yourself out of slumps, because we tell ourselves some crazy stuff. Like in our minds, the stuff that we think is crazy, it's dangerous, it's toxic, like it's all of the negative stuff. So you have to be able to talk yourself out of those, when you're talking and thinking toxic, when you're thinking negative, when you're thinking, I cannot do this, you have to be able to talk yourself out of it. And then there's one other thing. Give yourself time. Please give yourself time. And I have referenced this a lot, but I have a timeline, a number of years that I have said, if I cannot make this job work in this many years, then I will be okay. Give yourself time, because it is going to take time to grow your business. It's going to take time to get your consistent clients, get your consistent customers, whether you are service-based or product-based. It's going to take time to do that. So give yourself time. And by time, I mean years. I mean plural years, to grow your business and to grow your company. And I always think about, because I love sports, like it's one of my favorite pastimes. I always think about how long it took Michael Jordan to become Michael Jordan. Like from elementary school to high school to college to the pros. When Michael Jordan got to the pros, he wasn't Michael Jordan yet. And he tells this story. He was like, I wasn't Michael Jordan when I got to the pros. I was Mike. People used to just call me Mike Jordan. But after, I forgot however many years, he became Michael Jordan. But look how many years that took. And even with like other companies, let's talk about Apple. I'm talking to you on my MacBook Pro right now. Steve Jobs talks about how long it took him to make Apple into Apple. And he got fired in that process. So it takes people, we see them once they have become Steve Jobs. We see them once they become Michael Jordan. We see them, once they become LeBron James and all, but we don't see all of the 10, 20 years that it took them before they got to this pinnacle. So I remind myself of that a lot, that Crystal, this is going to take time. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be in a week or a month or a year or 2 years. It's going to be years, as in plural years. So that's my advice. Give yourself time, because you're going to need it. Make sure you're in a good financial place to where you can afford to dedicate 100% of your time and your effort, and you don't have to sacrifice anywhere else. And you have to be mentally strong. You got to be able to talk yourself out of those slumps, because a lot of the times you are by yourself in this journey.
Well, we can just wrap it up after, like you was talking to me. Like when I was scratching my head, like I was really like, you're just talking to me, and just like that is one of the things that I know that that I'm not good at, right? So what I've learned on this whole journey is you're going to be your worst critic, no matter what it is. You always think well, me, I'm gonna just say me, because I always tell everybody on my podcast and everybody talk, it's just me. This is how I feel. But
Right.
most of the time, it's like you're your worst critic, right? Oh, that can be better. You can do that, or this is that, or whatever the whole case may be. And whenever somebody else come and tell you, they're like, "Oh my God, that was amazing! Like, how did you do that?" And this is, I'm like, "No, I thought that was trash. I thought that was horrible." And people will come up and tell you stuff like that, and you don't know. You do have to talk yourself away from the ledge a lot,
Yes.
especially when you're
Yes.
like me. I'm a talkative person as well, just like you. So I know it's times that I'm like, oh my God, why am I even thinking this? You know what I mean? But
Yes.
that was some very, very, that's why I brought you on. Very, very, very good advice, because you do have to talk yourself out. And
Hmm.
it will take time. Everybody thinks just because Amazon can deliver you stuff next day air or next day, they expect everything to be like that. And it's really not. Amazon
Right.
has set us up for failure.
They have. We have become a microwave society. We want everything quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Yes, that is. Oh, you know what? This is very. It's been educational even for me. Like the most of the beginning part, I was like, okay, all right. But the end part, I'm like, I wanted to do like this, because I'm like, oh my God, that was good. I needed to hear that. And again, like when we talked earlier, I already told you you're going to say some stuff that somebody needs to hear in order to get to that next level. And like you've said it, like you've done all that you needed to do on here.
Thank you.
Oh my God, this interview was the best. And I always say that, but this one was very, very good for for your soul. You know what I mean?
Thank
Like
you.
this was really good. So I already know they're gonna want to know how they can find you, because this was dope. So tell the people how they can find you. Also, I'll put everything in the description below, but just tell them how they can find you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So you can find me I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube. I also have my own website. Just type in Google Crystal Petry Consulting and everything will pop up. My LinkedIn will pop up, my website will pop up, my YouTube platform will pop up, everything will pop up for you. So that is the easiest way, Crystal Petry Consulting across all platforms.
Man, y'all gonna remember. Y'all gonna remember this name. She is dope, man. And all of the stuff that she said, you could tell it came from the heart. It wasn't made up, it wasn't scripted, it wasn't any of those things, because I felt her energy through the camera. You know what I mean? Oh
Yes.
my God. I want to thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again for coming on. I know that my listeners, who all the thousands and thousands they are really going to enjoy this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to say really quick that I'm excited because Shamarcus is going to be on my podcast and he's
Yes.
going to be educating me and my audience. And I cannot wait. So thank you so much for opening up your platform for me to be on. I appreciate you so much, Shamarcus. And I cannot wait for you to come on my podcast.
Hey, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Thank you
Yes.
guys so much for listening. This has been another entrepreneur that's doing it her way. Follow her on all of her social medias. Again, the link will be in the description. I want y'all to have a great rest of the day, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.